Hi, Kim West, the Sleep Lady, and in today's blog, I'm going to answer this mom's question. She wrote in the following. I have a 4.5 and a 2.5-year-old, and they're both getting up really early every single morning. Around 5 is the typical time. For periods, they'll sleep until 6 or 6:30, but then they'll go through periods of early wake-ups again. It makes some school days really hard for my older son, and my husband and I are exhausted. Please help. I just want you to know that my article on my blog, my full article on early rising, is the most popular article I have on my blog. This is such a difficult time for us as parents. It's when we are in REM sleep and our bodies are secreting hormones to keep us asleep because it's like a light sleep. And it's really hard. I want you to know about the 4 causes of early rising. Again, I'll post a link to that fuller article on early rising. But the most common causes of early rising are going to bed too late, which I don't think is very logical. You'd think, like, at least for me, go to bed late, love to sleep in if I can. But it's not true for children, particularly under about 7 years of age. Typically, the later they go to bed, the earlier they'll wake up because they're overtired. The other thing is if, at least for your 2.5-year-old, if he's not napping and there's too big of a wakeful window between afternoon nap and bedtime, and then he's going to bed overtired. The third thing is nap deprivation in general. Let's say he is not napping at all. That will actually make the night sleep worse. And the fourth thing is going to bed too drowsy. So that's sort of like if we rock, hold, lie down with our child and we do a lot of the work for them at bedtime and then we expect them to figure it out at 5 a.m. The hardest time. So think about like you and I, like for me, if I wake up at 5 a.m. and I don't go back to sleep quick enough and my brain starts thinking about the 500 things I need to do, it's hard to go back to sleep because I've had enough sleep, but not really enough sleep to feel restored and energetic the next day. Okay, so that's the same for our children. So make sure that you're not doing too much of the work at bedtime. The other very important thing I want to talk about is that I'm not sure if they're sharing a room or, one tends to wake up the other with noise or calling out or leaving his room or whatever's happening. But a common thing that often gets missed is obstructive sleep apnea. Okay, which is usually caused by enlarged tonsils and adenoids, and it can cause early rising and really pretty stubborn early rising, so that even if you're super consistent and you say, oh no, Kim, I don't lie down with my kids, they put themselves to sleep awake, my 2.5-year-old still naps, but my goodness, he just I can't get rid of the early rising. So some common symptoms of sleep apnea, and again, I'm going to put an article, I'm going to link it in this blog post for other common signs of sleep apnea. But the common ones are restless sleeping, like all over the place, sheets are everywhere. If they didn't have a railing, the bed wasn't in the corner, they'd fall out. Some kids do fall out. The other thing is mouth breathing or loud breathing. It doesn't have to be snoring, and it doesn't have to be all night long. Okay, so the third most common one is sweating at sleep. So a lot of times, and often in the head, so a lot of parents will say, oh my gosh, their pillow is soaked. I thought they were drooling, when it is actually from sweating. Okay, so there are other symptoms like, frequent congestion, frequent history of ear infections, reflux, allergies, things like that. Anything that would interfere with their breathing at night. So if any of those are making a bell go off, I want you to write them all down. And again, check that article that I'm going to link this to. And I want you to go to your pediatrician and say, I didn't know to tell you this, but I want to make sure that my child's tonsils and adenoids are not enlarged. So they may have to refer you to an ENT because you can't see the adenoids by looking in the mouth. They'll have to scope the nose or an x-ray, but they can look at the tonsils. So again, it's sort of taking a complete history and taking a list of those symptoms and going to your pediatrician. So let's say that doesn't sound like you, and it's more about, doing some of the other causes of addressing some of the other causes of early rising, making sure the bedtime is early enough. I would get a wake-up clock. There's now a ton of them available on the market. If you go into Amazon and put in the search toddler clock, you'll probably get at least 5 to 10 products and have a sleep manner chart and say we have to stay quietly in our bed until our wake-up light comes on. Okay, you have to be so consistent, like weeks at this age range, for them to really believe that I'm not allowed to start the day before 6 a.m. So if you ignore the clock one day and you're like, oh, whatever, I can't take it, I'm getting out at 5:30 and we'll just go, plop on the couch and watch television, I'll get some breakfast. They won't take the clock seriously because after all, you didn't either. So if that happens, which I know none of us are perfect, I would just say, you know what, mommy made a mistake or daddy made a mistake and I forgot about the clock. So tonight, we're going to be really serious about the clock, and we do not leave our room and watch TV or eat or whatever it is until our wake-up light comes on. And you have to be super consistent no matter what they do. Okay, so I know there's lots more tips I could give you, like making sure, of course, they don't turn on the lights and start playing with things and all that kind of stuff. But I want you to rule out any underlying medical causes, and I want you to read the fuller article I have on early rising, and then be prepared to stay consistent over several weeks. Okay, it's worth it though.